Okay. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. And continuing with our quest of amazing speakers talking about how to be a world-class designer, we have Nazim Iqbal with us. He's the founder and director of experience design at Hude. Hude is a experience design and human experience design studio set up by Nazim. It specializes on the concepts of human and design, and it follows Nazim's design principle of understanding people's soul for design. And he is very experienced in his journey of multiple design focused companies, so like Sapien, Nokia, and building his own startups through the years. So he is a mentor and a strong believer of teaching design thinking for students and then imbibing all of their knowledges from the different cultural backgrounds and applying that in their line of work in design. So let's learn from Nazim what it takes to be a world-class designer through design education. With you, Nazim.
Yeah, thanks for the introductory note. And pleasure to be meeting all of you virtually. I will go back a little. I have been a few companies. My journey, company, and over the years, I largely in digital and design space, and also of that 80-90% in leadership roles. And of late, in the last 6, 7, 8 years, how I have traveled communally, that is how I called it. So, especially in the last 6, 7 years, I have become very community oriented. I run an organization known as Gurgaon Moments. It's a conglomerate of 150 corporate folks arranged around common community mores. And then there's another one which is citizen-facing organization, Gurgaon Nagrik Manch. And I'm engaged apart from this a lot of other social goodness. And why I have mentioned that it is because I believe that connecting to the community and kind of it's a key ingredient for being a good designer. A little experience the Chinese, like I mentioned in my profile, a multitude of cultures, from a Bori, from a Nepali, from Anglo-Indian, from a Chinese, from a Bengali, from a Muslim, and that that I think that kind of formed my worldview because, and I'm talking about 30 years back, 20 years back, there were not too much of prejudice. Any which way, Calcutta is a very open culture. So I think I grew up believing that and that everybody coexists, everybody adhere to their practices. This is an interesting part. I think I was, a couple of days I have been kind of reflecting on my own. Where did my design what was my first design? I think the first design instinct was in 7 or 8. I tried playing. I studied in a Chinese management school, and I was fascinated by what simple lines can do. And so I think I pick up this knack of drawing and imitating some of the Chinese characters. They were like just scribble a few lines and then you will have a few characters. So I think that was my earliest, apart from the fact that I had an instinct for reading. I was a voracious reader. A little background of how I arrived here. So my studies, last studies that I did formally was Jadavpur University, and then IIT also. Mom, because my mom is in there. That's my mom. She keep insisting that I should continue my studies. Nevertheless, I got so consumed by my own professional services that this is to backseat. Till the time I became a mentor with Niti Aayog, that's a government of India uh, uh, operation and a program in India. Just give me a minute. And I was assigned DPS International. That's a school in Faridabad. around 3,500 students. So that was my going back to the school phase. But I think the important part was, and I'll go back to my mom icon there. That was the also time when she had brain stroke. That was the first time that I reflected how digital and design, can come to the public space, because that was when I saw the hospital and this hospital and digital school. I with all and so I think we come to a point where now I'm formed a huge studio. We are, our single line quest is to bring humans closer to brands. That's across the digital ecosystem. That's a one line quest for us. And I'm incubating Thinkful Design. Thinkful Design is a platform where we're trying to bring design learning make design learning more accessible to school students. And here I am at the conference. So I think it's a very quite unusual topic, but because it's close to my heart, I kind of picked up, and I try, and every time whenever I kind of move to this topic, I kind of switch and reflect, to gather insight, what is the commonality, how design can impact. And because especially in India, design is still very alien. You understand, in India, design has not been prominent in the public space till about 10 years back. For a period of 50, 60 years, we were a designless society. Largely we were very functional. Our buildings were very functional till about 80s or 90s. It's only about 90s people have started, accessing design in a, they've got their that is drawing room design, and then now we have buildings which are getting designed. Earlier it was more of functional. People build a building to fill a function. To be inhabited by a department or by school students. So, but I think there is a lot, not some. There's a lot common between design learning and school education. Let's look at that. If you look at goal of education is to set up future generation for prosperous and happy life. I think that's the ultimate aim. If we cut through all the fact that you are equipped academically and then you become successfully professionally and all that, but I think we all believe that it is to make us happy. You look at the goal of design is to delight user in the interaction of systems, services, and products. So this commonality of quest, between achieving a happy state and delighting user, I believe is a overlap. And then looking back at my own journey, I believe that there are a few things which kind of shaped my uh, uh, journey. One was the freedom to express, to communicate, and the early exposure of multiculturalism. That I think that's kind of shape my thinking, and that continue to shape right now. And if you look at the world, I believe that in a lot of societies, not all societies, let this not be a very sweeping of biases which are kind of in. Then there's a we are believing that society is becoming more. Now, if we quickly look at the world that our children are going to inherit for us, and I kind of reflecting this when I was putting this together. If we look at the emotional, social, and physical world, and we look at the different factors that we have, we will believe that they are all under stress. If there was a digital ecosystem which were designed to connect human and communities, and we now see it is breeding loneliness. If we do a research, you will see that the millennials are one of the highest percentile have one of the highest percentile of people who are feeling lonely. Uh, and uh, and then we look at our relationship with nature and resources. I think we also kind of reached a tipping point where we have to reimagine our relationship. And then if we look at our build approach, we've been very myopic, if you look at the roads, the way it has been built, the building, the way it has been built, we have not kind of scope for the other living creatures, not even, many times, not even for other humans, which are people with special abilities, So our vision has been quite myopic, Now, if you look at these three things that we are talking of, the physical, social, and the emotional world, we see the relationship is the way the framework was defined. It is under a lot of stress, and we are kind of, in many places we have reached a breaking point, which means that, and we are responsible for that. If you look at it, we are responsible for all what we are seeing, and we are reaching a tipping point where we're seeing, and COVID-19 was one of those tipping points, where we're saying that you need to redesign our relationship, redesign our ecosystem. Uh, uh, Now, if we kind of, the next generation, if they're looking at, or even our generation that we're looking at, and we say what we are designing for, if largely, if you look at it, we've reached a point where we have to design that do no harm to humans. Earlier it was always about improving human situation. But I think possibly we are at a stage in life and a stage in the evolution of the time where I think we have to scope for both. And uh, but let's understand what design is. Design, I think, is believe, and this is largely from a from a school, from a children perspective. Even from grown up, but look about tool, and it is more. And if we reflect, who have been in this were part of this, who action, you'll understand it's about 2% of the design is here. 20% is what is expressed, what is kind of capturing that. Design is a lot about decision, and when we say it is a lot about decision, we will see that that decision always based on values, on ethics, and that I think is an extremely important place, because the ethics and values foundation has to be laid much earlier, not as a post school thing. Right, as we look at the future, and we will go to the forward slide, we'll see that there is a greater demand of design skills across the board, across the profession, across every facet of life, across every walks of life, and the world is demanding a new set of designer or techno designer who the design skill and that industrial experience, expertise. I think that's where the world is headed. And largely, going back to what I said here, that values and this thing, also I believed, and this has been my very close observation, that design is a very godly act. It is a godly act, and because it is a godly act, we need to have, because we create, and kind of we need to be very aware that what we are designing is going to impact emotional, social, and physical world. Response, the sense of value, of ethics has to be laid much earlier, when the mental framework of a person is being laid out, is being shaped, not as a, so that is what. And if I think another very key important, if you look at the difference, that there is a difference between being an ethical person and thinking and implementing ethics in work. It's a very fine line. Now all of these aware to or a creator or an innovator. There is a difference between being resourceful and frugal, team and collaborator, designer and problem solver, optimist and embracing ambiguity, powerful and responsible. If you look at, on the right hand side, the elements that the attribute that has been outlined, they are largely, what the next generation, the next century demands. What is the demand of our century, And as a society, also, we have moved from designing services products, to designing value system, as we have evolved from bots to robots to humanoids, uh, and AI, we will see that we need a design a system. Is it going to be equal to what the human value system is, or is it going to be different? So that's the kind of deliberation that is required now. For that's a very higher level of deliberation. For that, it can't be that I'm not aware of all of these, and I'm given the time. I'm given the capability of the response to create. I will create, then I will end up creating without being cognizant of the fact that it will impact lives. So, either physically or emotionally, all the way, and above all, I think what we need to understand, that humans are emotional animals. That's a very famous saying. And as we move to more and more automation, towards robots, data, machine learning, artificial intelligence, there will be a greater demand, because there will be a going away from human interaction. There will be a greater demand for human emotions, and it is design which can infuse all of these interaction, all of these layers of automation with emotions. Now, this is I recently came across, and so fittingly it has kind of captured even Google, which I jokingly quite a few times I say Google is next to God. It is Google is called out that empathy is the future skill of the future. And these some of the in 2020, LinkedIn said, if you look at the design or the design thinking attribute, emotional intelligence, collaboration, creativity, and UX design. And if you look at another report, World Economic, we see that design is way up, either on the vertical or horizontal grid. I think one other very important attribute is that we need to understand that design in its school is not about just the spirit. There is a whole lot of influence that the design of the physical space also weight on how the thinking of people have shaped or will shape. And this is one example. This is a very modest, low flexible, and towards that end, I think as we go forward, we'll see one of the recommendation, or one of the thing that I kind of propose to some of the schools that I interact is that you should have more and more open spaces. Open spaces is indicate free flow of ideas, unbiasedness, acceptance of other people, and this is a very low cost school built on the bank of Yamuna. Yamuna is a very big river in India, in Delhi, close to Delhi. And the police every now and then they come and they kind of demolish this, because this is on a not a registered land, but this also served the children of the underprivileged, the workers who work close by. And so this was demolished. They kind of had some litigation. They built these places, and this was done by a company known as Social Design Collaborative. Very impressive design, wherein it is closed but it is open. To another practice which is shaping in the Scandinavian countries, which has one of the better school systems in the world, which is Finland, Denmark. They are also moving. They have moved rather. A lot of them have moved to an open school. So what I mean to say, design is not only on the spirit and on the curriculum, but also in the physical space. So a quick recommendation on what skills of today will need tomorrow for the work, for building the community and to survive. Some of the things which I could, I believe are extremely, critical for their survival and for their, for them to prosper. collaboration, team building, empathy, problem solving, planning, optimism, resource utilization, frugal development. Frugal development is, you call it frugal development or using recycled material. It's very different than, it's a different mindset than say resource planning or resource utilization. And then we have, I think one of the other thing, very key thing which design will equip student is to learn from failure. Fail and have that passion to rise and create again. I think that's one of the thing. And the last part, which is embrace ambiguity. Absolutely. You look at the society as such, look at the world as such. It is now so ambiguous. You're not sure which direction we are moving. You're not sure where your career is moving. You're not sure the skill that you're learning today, the computing skill that you're learning today will be tomorrow, will be used or not. You are working in a car factory, you're not sure 10 years down the line that fossil fuel car will exist. With it. So that's the, and amidst, it's a mindset, and I can relate because of the background, and also because the way I have traveled post that in my life. I have changed houses 8 times, and kind of that's a very ambiguous time. But you embrace that, to accept that, and live and prosper in that. Now, I think what very important thing, and I deliberately kept it very undesigned, this slide, is that if you look at some of the problem that we are saying, petroleum, plastic, digital economy, plastic straw, landfill, if you look at it, these are being called now problems, but they were not problems. They were solutions. At one point of time, they were solutions. It's just that somebody, without applying design thinking, kind of came and copied it to another scenario. They were designed for a specific time, for a specific scenario, and they were taken from there out of context and applied to somewhere else. I think that is where what has led to being classified as problem. Largely, what I mean to say is that at a level, people should be equipped to think, design into their thinking. So and see, okay, how it can be contextualized to my scenario, and then apply it rather than just taking and applying it then. Some of the key things which I keep giving to different schools about building a design culture at school: openness places to write, openness culture, encourage expressiveness, focus on working together, encourage interaction across classes, design or delegate a space for expression of ideas. I think this is a big one. For me, I keep touting, have a common area, big whiteboard or stick notes where people can go and express, irrespective, not wait for a specific time or a specific period or a specific age to express their idea. And importantly, in a lot of programs that I do with schools, school projects, I tell them to focus on a local problem. Don't don't try and make a chip. Focus, look at your locality and focus on the local problem. Give access to resources or delegate some resource. And last, I think 9 point I've kind of specified what that invest in building design physical spaces, designed physical spaces of school. And why is it so important? Because see, understand, a lot of people, especially in India, I will contextualize it. They kind of still attribute design learning to tools. Tools is just 15-20%. 80% is mindset, and then the mindset is about ethics, about values, all of that, and that kind of is where much earlier. So sorry, I am supposed. I know. It's just that I think I was exposed to some of the ingredients of design very early on, from the time I was born. But I believe that post school skill, going forward, will be like a vineyard. And designer imitate God in the act of creation. Why? And this is just I'm stuck. Yeah. So he's one of the rare design person. I don't know how many of you have heard about Clement Monk. He was a Apple designer. He was with Sapient, and he has absolute clarity of thought. This is his saying, and this is one of those rare designer whom I kind of, and I, this is the decade I believe in. Absolutely, design does not mean looking good, but it means being good as well. And that is where I say God designing is a very godly attribute. So this is Thinkful Design that I am incubating. We're trying to make design learning more accessible to students, to young childrens. We just started 4 months back, 5 months back, and we're looking open to collaboration. Art program, online program on web design, blog aimed at school students. We can take the discussion offline. I'm open to discussion on this, and that's me. Uh, so like I said, I formed a huge studio, which is kind of trying to bridge the gap between humans and brands and organization across the digital ecosystem. And I'm mentoring and a founder of Thinkful Design. So that's about me.
That's fantastic. Thanks a lot, Nazim. So you actually answered quite a lot of the questions that our audience has been having, thinking about how we can create a framework and how do we advise schools to incorporate design thinking and design education into the school system. One thing we'd like to know more is what elements do you think need to be incorporated? Like, do we target it from the design thinking perspective? Do we think of it from the principles of design perspective? How do we do this? And how are you able to manage tackling language barriers when you're doing this in a country with such diverse people?
So I think first and foremost, it is the intent, it is the vibe, and it is the vision. You know, uh, uh, and when we say vision, vision is if it is design. If you look at the very basic level requirement of design, it is about openness. I let me tell you, I was talking to a fairly senior pro of from the industry. He's in a very large MNC at a mid-level position, and he's looking to move over to design. One of the thing which another advice that I gave him was, that don't be judgmental. You know, the time you start being judgmental, your design learning stops. You're saying, okay, I don't want to listen to him. He's like, he's colored, he's short, he's fat. And in one of the school sessions I've said, if one of the key things that I've said, that if you are a black, and this is I've told in a class, a student of class 4, that if you're a black, make a white your friend. If you're white, make a Asian your friend. If you're Hindu, make a Christian your friend. If you're Christian, make a Muslim your friend. Make sure that you have one of these friends, because that's about openness. You're learning on the other side. So I think one key ingredient is openness. That you kind of, and this has to be imbibed in these children, because if you look at the world, the media, everybody is building all are not right. So that's, I think, one of the key ingredients. Other, I believe, is the person who's leading the program has to set the right culture, build the right culture of being accessible, bringing the right vibes. I think that is extremely, because see, understand, design is a lot about honesty. You understand the user needs, and then you build a product to fulfill the user needs. Correct? You understand the business of, you build something to fulfill the business. You're not honest. You say, okay, I want to do something glamorous in this project. I want to do something, I want to use the parallax effect, in this project. So that is being dishonest. And so honesty is one of the key, and I think honesty is also one of the key ingredients when you're building a team. World, it may not be possible to kind of follow it, but at least at the basic foundation level, connecting with school students, these are some of the ingredients, and this is too short a time to kind of answer that. But yes, these are some of the basic ingredients, because once they are confident that they have the right environment, they open up, they prosper. And I did. I was in Calcutta. I did, because there was no biasness. I would go into a Chinese home, I would go into Anglo-Indian home, they would come to our home, and we would be very, kind of adhering to our own cultural principle they were adhering to. But the intermingling was very easy. And I believe that's one of the key ingredients. And you have to build that culture and an environment for the children to be able to, expose the different ways of life, different thinking.
Yes. That's fantastic. That's actually something that we've been talking about the entire time we were building this project and putting this conference together. And as we said, when people get together without judgment and are connected across different borders and across differences that they have, that's when I think they're able to learn and grow as people and designers. And I think it's the best thing about children is that they're too young to have these biases, and we can incorporate all of these amazing ideas in them to help change.
Yeah. I think having said, just a caveat to what you said. Uh, it's not that children are too young. The children's, because of the media, because of all kind of news and discussions adult do, these biases creep into that. And if you look at it, how they're doing for them, the biggest harm, because they they're not exposed to the idea. So yes, but largely children are very unbiased, open, tendency to be on and mingling across the line.
Okay, that's great. Uh, I think that's it. Like, thanks a lot for your time. Thanks a lot for sharing your amazing wisdom and thoughts with us. So, yes, thank you for helping the world class designer community.
Thanks, sir. Thanks, sir.